After the death of Pope John Paul II, world-renowned physicist Stephen Hawking revealed instructions he had once been given by the pontiff during a cosmology conference at the Vatican. According to Hawking, the Pope said, "It's okay to study the universe and where it began, but we should not inquire into the beginning itself, because that was the moment of creation and the work of God." Stephen Hawking and his fellow physicist, Leonard Mlodinow, are doing what Galileo did hundreds of years before them and ignoring the Pope's advice. In our number one story, the co-authors write in their new book that God was not necessary for the creation of our universe. Mr. Mlodinow joins me presently. Grand design asks the fundamental questions: why is there something rather than nothing? Why do we exist? Hawking and Mlodinow assert that when asking who or what created the universe, the answer God only serves to kick the can down the road, because there's the other one, which is who or what created God. The authors believe the origin of the universe can be explained scientifically, quoting, "As recent advances in cosmology suggest, the laws of gravity and quantum theory allow universes to appear spontaneously from nothing. Spontaneous creation is the reason there is something rather than nothing, why the universe exists, why we exist. It is not necessary to invoke God to light the blue touch paper and set the universe going." The book does not explicitly rule out the existence of God. Still, religious leaders are getting bent out of shape. England's Archbishop of Canterbury, Rowan Williams, Chief Rabbi Lord Sachs have issued rebuttals to the book. And then there's Baroness Susan Greenfield, a British scientist and member of the House of Lords, who told the BBC, quote, "They, scientists, can make whatever comments they like, but when they assume, rather in a Taliban-like way, that they have all the answers, then I do feel uncomfortable." Joining me now, Caltech physicist and grand design co-author with Stephen Hawking, Leonard Mlodinow. Thank you for your time tonight, sir.
Thank you.
The Baroness has half apologized for the comparison to the Taliban. I don't know if she read the book, but neither of you are claiming to know everything, are you?
Well, if she half apologized, I guess I should half thank her for the apology. No, of course we're not claiming to know everything. The book is about, as you said, two main questions. Where did the universe come from, and why are the laws of nature what they are? And we give scientific answers to those questions. And from those answers, we conclude that God isn't necessary for either of those. And that's all we say. We don't pretend to prove that there's no God. We don't give any mathematical proof that there's no God. We don't say you shouldn't believe in God, that it's bad to believe in God. We don't even say that God didn't create the universe. We just say that God is not necessary as an answer to those questions.
But
if I might add,
yeah.
I think some of the histrionics around this, such as those comments that you quoted, are counterproductive and poison the whole discussion.
As they always do when they come from religious leaders, whether it's about a movie or a book of science or about Galileo's work, but often it winds up with, in fact, the work getting greater distribution than it would have had otherwise. But let me play God's advocate to twist the old phrase. The laws of gravity and quantum theory are the cause of the spontaneous creation of the universe. That is the ultra-simplified version of the book. Could not a God or a force of some sort have created the laws of gravity and quantum theory?
Well, Keith, people have always looked around and asked themselves big questions, and sometimes it seems to them, it seems to all of us, that the answers to those big questions could only be the work of some deity. For instance, people look at the human being and they say, this is such a magnificent creature, it could only be the work of God. And you know, Darwin showed that that wasn't true, that science can explain that. And we're talking about two other issues, the creation of the universe and why the laws of nature are what they are. And it's a natural instinct to have that could only be the work of God. But we show that science can answer those questions too. Now, when we give those answers, of course, science is based on laws. Physics is based on, we're saying the laws of physics explain that. You could say, well, where do those laws come from? Is that God? Mm. Well, of course, you could define God to be that way. You know, whatever our answer is, you can always say, but why, and say that that's God. And, you know, if people feel that they want to do that, that's fine. That's consistent with what we say.
How is the progress of cosmology going? Is there a chance that we will ever know without doubt that it's correct or incorrect?
Well, physics isn't like mathematics, so you don't prove things beyond doubt using logical reasoning and the laws of mathematics. Physics is an observational science, so when we have a theory, what you do is you gather evidence to either confirm the theory or disprove the theory. So in the case of Stephen's theories, the best place to look for that evidence is what's called the cosmic microwave background radiation. And there are satellites, one was just recently launched, that are analyzing that the cosmic microwave background, which is really the afterglow of the Big Bang, and that has encoded in it how the universe began. And so from these sorts of observations, we hope to find evidence supporting the theory or refuting a theory. And science goes on, and that's the march of science. And it's only after many observations that we have confidence in our theories. But we don't claim to have the absolute answers in the way that religion does.
Last thing, 30 seconds, if you have 30 seconds, you can summarize it. The process of working with Stephen Hawking is like what?
Well, it was a lot of fun. He's obviously a brilliant man. He's a very stubborn man. He told me that his stubbornness is both his greatest and his worst quality, but I think in a scientist it's a great quality, and in someone with his disability it's a great quality. And he has a great sense of humor, so it was a lot of fun. It was intense, and we took 4 years to work on the book, and it was a great experience. And
congratulations on it. A physicist and with Stephen Hawking,
Thank you.
co-author of The Grand Design, Leonard Mlodinow. Thank you again.